Well, I'm doing another audio recording video. So, I did exactly what I said I'm not going to do, but I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to even summarize this and get this in an order that makes a little bit of sense. So, this is going to be a story about another, what I like to call let me help you lunatic situation. For those that don't know, I created the term let me help you lunatic, and it's a complex for people that want to help people. Some of them really don't. They just do it to look good or make themselves feel better, or because they feel they have an obligation to quote-unquote help people due to some religious stuff, so pretty much an obligation, or to make themselves feel better. And those are the types that'll commonly only help you or only help whoever when they're around people, and they'll be really loud and proud about it. Or they'll help somebody, but they'll obviously be very mad while doing it. Like, for example, they'll offer to buy you, I don't know, a banana, but then after buying you the banana, they'll talk about how much the banana was the entire time. And every time you see them, they'll talk about how expensive the banana was and how you should be grateful. That's one example. They'll go on rants about how they've always helped people. And it's not always a bad thing. I mean, it's like, sometimes they're telling you that because they want you to understand that you can trust them and that, like, they're not lying, they really have helped people. But I do want to say this, though, before I really start talking about anything. It's not even that let me help you lunatics are bad people. It's just the unfortunate reality that it seems like the people who are really willing to actually really help people are very half-safe, sometimes even more than even less than half-safe. They're very, very unsafe. They're not very stable, and they're not really in the predicament financially or mentally to be helping somebody, sometimes even physically. They're not in the predicament to be helping somebody. And that's the unfortunate reality, is that the people who are willing to help people are either chomos, especially when they're dudes. They're usually are chomos, or if you're older, they just want to manipulate you in a relationship or really just straight up assault you. And then for the women, they're typically very, very unstable, really not in the mental, physical, or financial predicament to be helping somebody. They're very manipulative. Same thing with the sexual predators, which could be a man or a woman, but typically they're men, and typically the men that want to quote-unquote help people, they're sexual predators. Sometimes they're not in a predicament better than you are. Like, a lot of the sexual predator ones, like, shoot, they very obviously just want to, like, drag you into some sexual thing because they're in a predicament that's worse than you are, talking about quote-unquote helping you and being a quote-unquote uncle, or you calling them quote-unquote dad, and a whole bunch of crazy, weird stuff. But yeah. So, I'm not saying that, like, these are bad people, because I don't want people to, like, feel like I'm trying to say that. Then there's, of course, the people that have a lot of cognitive dissonance, or they're either these types of people themselves, where they're like, well, you're just entitled, and you just want things to be perfect. First of all, I don't want anything from anybody, to be truthfully honest. I don't run around asking people for stuff, partly because you're either going to get told, well, no. One, because I never did like that. Ever since literal, like, toddlerism, or whatever you I don't even know if that's the word. Ever since I was a toddler, I never really did like asking people for stuff, which is on the effects of the trauma. But I learned really early that you're either not going to get it, or, I don't know, pretty much like that saying I've always had, especially since 6. If you want something done at all, you got to do it yourself. And it's like, it just makes me, I don't know, I just don't like it. So it's not like I'm running around asking people for stuff. The unfortunate thing about Let Me Help You Lunatics is that they're people that are able to tell that you have stuff going on, and so, partly because they've had it before happen to them. I don't even know if that came out right either, and my phone's almost dead. They had it before it happened. Nah, that doesn't sound right. I don't know. They've been in the same predicament before, and they're able to tell. Or they're just like a clairvoyant abuser, and they're able to, like, tell people have whatever going on, or, like, have been through whatever, to use it against them. And the unfortunate thing is that whether these people are bad people on purpose or not, which typically it seems like most of them really aren't, they really do want to quote-unquote help people. And they're able to learn a lot of desperate people that aren't me, that stay with them long term. Like, actually, I still have the Voodoo Cult Lady video, the part 1, re-uploaded. And that's from, I think that was maybe during the part 5 channel, when that situation actually happened. But I had the part 1 re-uploaded. I still haven't remembered to re-upload the part 2. But you can see that, well, for one, I didn't run into that situation. Law enforcement forced me into that, because they said that I either had to get quote-unquote help or get locked up and turned in and sent quote-unquote home. But I didn't want to go at all whatsoever. But you see that as what some people, at least back when I was in support groups, were calling her. She's an example of a quote-unquote crazy religious person. I don't really like mental terms like crazy, to be honest, and I don't really... Well, I guess maybe I could have my own views of what a crazy religious person is, although according to some people, like the ones that grew up in like more atheistic places, or they just don't believe in like spiritual stuff, and they're under what I like to call the white supremacist philosophy of atheism, anything that has something to do with anything spiritual is being a quote-unquote crazy religious person. And I mean, I even had people in Cali call me that, and I wouldn't even consider myself religious, but I can say that I definitely do have my own views of what that would be, but I don't even really know how to explain that. But I think I was saying some of these people are what people would consider crazy religious people. So, how do I summarize this? I really don't know what to do. I don't know how to like get this all in an order where it would really make sense. Because this also starts off with something I somewhat mentioned in like 2 other videos, where I was talking about this lady I met and how she pretty much showed a good example of how these cycles can work out, of the cycles of being in bad situations perpetually, especially after being in the Cash for Kids system. And how like a dude had said that she just didn't want to take care of herself pretty much, and she didn't want to pay rent, which I mean she said that herself. And how she's the one who ended up with the Let Me Help You Lunatic lady that I am about to talk about, but I just don't know how to like summarize it. So it's probably going to be out of order. I really just don't know how to do it. Like, it's just so all over the place, as the usual Let Me Help You Lunatic situation would be. But I did get to definitely make sure and check to see that the situation with the elder lady who ran into this lady's house and accepted her on the offer, I mean, it's safe enough, especially safe enough for her, because one of the things is that this lady, of course, sees me as a quote-unquote child, which is one of the things that she would constantly talk about. So, the situation is definitely safer from the elderly lady who moved in with her than it is for me, because I'm going to be seen as a child, and I'm going to get all the accusations that will go along with a southern person who's also quote-unquote black, who's also under certain types of trauma-based mind control, and just has certain issues themselves, that sees me a certain way, because they see me as, like, this particular generation, and the lady was even accusing me of being pregnant, because my stomach was hurting, so I was rubbing it, and, like, I was also kind of bloated. But I really just need some probiotics, so that's another story. But anywho. So, it's like she, of course, sees me a certain way, and sees me as, like, somebody who thinks I know stuff that I really don't. Pretty much, like, ageism, adultism, but also a person who is very, very ignorant, but they think they know something, and so they also think that I think I know stuff. I've honestly never liked the term that when you're a certain age, you think you know everything. I've honestly never thought that I know everything. But regardless of what people want to say, or whether people want to act like I'm just like being, I don't know, arrogant or something, I've always had people make it clear to me throughout my entire life that I understand more than most grown people do. But I've never been the person to think that I know everything, and I don't like being around people that are going to act like I think I know everything because I'm a quote-unquote child, and that's why I want to, like, I don't know, lord over elders or something. I don't even like that. And another thing about that is that I'm usually in pretty isolated situations, so I don't even like when people try to act like I want to get around people and act like I know more than people. I really rather be by myself, to be honest, to even avoid being in situations around people like that. But I don't like that. I also don't like people trying to make me feel like I'm stupid or something. Especially because, regardless of how arrogant this is going to sound, I'm not the average stereotype person that people like this would try to make me out to be. This is even coming out right. But anywho, pretty much ignorant person with a lot of mental stuff going on that thinks they know stuff but really they don't. Manipulative on accident as usual. Really the average Let Me Help, not even the average, really all Let Me Help You lunatics are going to be very manipulative and very abusive and toxic. And it's really usually not going to be on purpose. And I think the worst thing about it not being on purpose is that they don't see anything wrong with any of the stuff that they do or say to people. They don't see anything wrong with the accusations and the stereotypes they make about you. They don't see anything wrong with accusing you of being pregnant, even though I highly doubt that I could even get pregnant, but they don't see anything wrong with that. They don't see anything wrong with accusing you of being a thief and of robbing people and of being a criminal and all types of stuff. And me personally, it's like these types will accuse me of being paranoid and of having trust issues because I won't just run up in people's houses. And they'll even say the whole, you don't want help because you won't move with random deranged people. And they'll like make me feel like I have trust issues, but really, I don't. I just have good enough discernment. Like this specific lady, you can tell by looking at her that she has stuff going on. Similar to another Let Me Help You lunatic type lady that I had met in Cali. That was also kind of similar to the voodoo cult lady, but still pretty different. And I could even say, even though this lady that I'm talking about now, even though she's like a Christian, she's still very similar to the voodoo cult lady with like the certain things about her that people would consider being a quote-unquote crazy religious person. But I would say that the issue with her, even, it's not even really just about that. It's like the character traits that go along with being like one of those children these days people. She's pretty much the usual deranged person that's 40 plus, that's under certain types of trauma-based mind control with certain types of issues. Also like one of the quote-unquote crazy religious people that like runs around talking about, I guess I could say religious stuff, but I really don't like the term, but talking about stuff like that, but then whenever you confront them about anything or you just don't want to go along with the games that they're trying to reel you into, whether on purpose or not, they start literally cursing you out, like literally cursing you out. And they're like cursing, and then they like they smoke and all that type of stuff, different things like that. So it's like, I guess what some people would call being holier than thou. My mom loved that term, holier than thou. She would even talk about my dad's mom like that, how she was like one of these, I don't know, holier than thou type people. That's definitely what people could consider. I mean, but I don't know, though. I don't even know if I could really consider a lot of these people, like, quote-unquote narcissistic, which I don't even like that term. They're definitely Jezebelic. But I don't even know if I can really even consider them that, because it's like this other lady was saying about the this lady that was a Let Me Help You lunatic that I met in Cali, that was also older and had, like, it was definitely some religious type stuff about her, but not really, but it's like, it's not even really that they're necessarily bad people. They just are not in the predicament to be helping people. But most people are so desperate in whatever their situation is, and they're just so used to, like, these half-safe people that kind of like you, that are kind of safe, but they're kind of not. They're kind of nice, but they're kind of mean, but they're kind of toxic. Some people are just so used to that, they just get reeled in so easily. And it's like, they're the only people that are willing to actually help people. And I think that's one of the unfortunate things. It's like, people that are willing to help people and actually do some of the things that it takes to help somebody are really never safe people. Like, only sexual predators and deranged people that are deranged in whatever different way they're deranged in are really willing to, like, help somebody, help someone get food, get people food, help someone get a job, take people into their houses especially, because typically people who are quote-unquote mentally stable, they don't have empathy, they don't have sympathy, they don't have a lot of emotion, they don't really care about anybody but themselves, if they even care about themselves, and they're definitely not willing to take people into their houses and stuff. Like, you're lucky if you can even get a quote-unquote mentally stable person to, like, I don't know, get you a sandwich or something. And I know people are going to feel some type of way about this and be like, people just are entitled to have other people take care of them and they want to live off the kindness of others. Me personally, I don't run around asking people for stuff, but I'm just saying that, like, this is something I've noticed. People who are mentally stable typically aren't going to do any of that, which is why I really don't even like the term mentally stable, and I don't even know what I was about to say. But yeah, so this lady was also doing something very, very similar to the voodoo cult lady. She was like, because I had went over, even though I really shouldn't have, because she seen me sitting somewhere, and then I had went over, and I was able to check on the elderly lady and all that, but I really shouldn't have. But anyways, I went over, and she was doing the whole thing the voodoo cult lady did that I even think I have on video. Maybe not in the part 1, but maybe the part 2. Where she, like, went on this paranoid rant in her car about how somebody was following us even though there were no cars around whatsoever. And how she didn't want me to, like, steal her TV. I don't know how it was steal it, how it carried it, what I'd even do with it. This was, I think in 2022, but this lady did something very similar. She was like, something about me leaving her house and somebody following me and her TV and stuff going missing. It's weird how they always do that TV line. Like, why the TV? Why not still, I don't know, like, the refrigerator? But I guess that would be harder. I don't know. It's just funny that they always do that still my TV line. Like, you're going to leave and then you're going to come back and steal my TV. But that's why I say, though, I don't run up in people's houses. And then they'll try to make me feel paranoid. But I just don't do it. And then it's weird how, like, I'm the paranoid person with trust issues. But yet they make up all these different stories about me in their head about who I am and what I'm supposedly doing. Kind of like with the food truck Mexican people that I talked about in a couple of videos. Although I would say that, like, I can't even really consider them Let Me Help You lunatics, though. They were more so just, like, on some racist stuff because they think that they're white. And they wanted to use me to work at their food truck and also to raise their kids that were the same age as me, some of them. Because their grandma was tired of raising the grandkids, and there was a lot of stuff with that. But it kind of reminds me of that because, like, they started claiming that, like, they wanted to know if I was a boy or a girl or not because, unfortunately, a lot of people can't tell for whatever different reasons. And they were like, well, I just wanted to know if you were a boy or a girl or not because a lot of girls get kicked out for being pregnant and having a baby. And I wanted to know if you had a baby or not, and that's why you got kicked out. And then they started making up all these different stories in their head about me being a hoe, and all types of crazy stuff. Like, I can't even carry a baby, and then, like, having a baby at that would not, I don't even think that would work out well whatsoever. Even with a C-section. But that's what this was reminding me of because the lady started doing the whole steal my TV, steal my stuff with somebody accusation. And it's like, she already knows that I'm not from here because people are always saying, like, they can tell I'm not from here. Which is very unfortunate when people can tell that because that can also cause a lot of unsafe situations. So it's like, I don't know anybody really. And I also don't even like the whole comparing people who are, like, homeless nomads to people who are, like, in gangs. This goes into something that I've mentioned a couple times before. A street kid, especially in, like, West Coast terms, is completely different from a Southern or East Coast version of a street kid. A Southern or East Coast version of a street kid is, like, a kid who's in a gang because they're being neglected and abused and their parents don't give a crap about them. Like, she was even trying to compare, like, homeless people or what I would consider homeless nomads more so than a stereotypical homeless person. She was trying to compared that to some boys who had neglectful, abusive single moms who clubbed all day and stole her car. She was trying to compare me to them and other people that I would consider homeless nomads more so to them. And it's like, those are two completely different things. Like, a lot of nomads hitchhike and Greyhound so much they wouldn't even really care for having a car, some of them, but they'd rather have an RV. So it's like, but there was that, this is not going to come out right whatsoever. It's going to be all over the place, but this could be a part 1, I guess. And just like this lady was saying, the elderly lady who ran into her house and took her up on the offer to stay there, she's even admitted before she is gullible. And this is even what the lady was saying, but the unfortunate thing about this is that she knows that she really can't take care of herself in some ways, although she wasn't willing to, like, let the resource center help her get a place and stuff and try to help her find something affordable, which is like, you ran into this deranged lady's house for her to help you do the same thing that the resource center was trying to help you do, that you told them never mind on because you didn't want to pay rent anymore. And you don't want to live alone, but you were about to go live like on an abandoned church that probably isn't even still there, on some land that was passed down from your foster mom, even though you admitted that you sold your plot, which means that you're probably not really supposed to be there. But that's what she was saying. But it's like, you told the resource center that was going to help you find something since you have income, never mind, to move in with some deranged lady who screams all the time, for her to help you do the same thing. But she did say she was willing to help her pay her rent because she didn't make enough, really, even with her income. At least not to get into the place, but she makes enough to pay the rent. And I've heard about stuff like that before where, like, somebody makes enough to pay the rent, but they don't make enough to actually qualify to get into the place. So, I mean, that's good. That's why I say, though, that unfortunately the people who are really willing to help people are not safe people. They'll definitely help you. They'll definitely give you a place to stay. They may even do, like, some other good stuff with you, but they're still just not safe people. And they're very toxic. But, okay, what was I saying? Hold up. I don't even remember what I was saying. I think I was supposed to say something, but I don't remember what it was. But as I already said, this is going to be way all over the place. So another thing that I could say is that, oh yeah, when I kept telling her throughout all these different times that I wasn't going to move in with her. Oh no, I remember what I was going to say though. I was supposed to have been said this actually. I don't even like when people consider not moving into random people's houses and not trusting people that you don't even know, trust issues. I don't even like that. Like, I feel like people should only call something trust issues if you actually know the person. Telling somebody that because they won't move in with some random person walking down the street that they have trust issues, that's not even what trust issues really should mean. That's also not what paranoia should mean. And that reminds me of something that I learned like back during the early parts of my Cash for Kids system and mental label abuse. It's like when you don't let people abuse you and you don't like go along with different types of abuse, then you're paranoid with trust issues. But when you're not, well, how do I put this? When you're not paranoid, then you're detached from reality. Or when you're not quote unquote paranoid, then you're detached from reality. If you know, you know. That may not make sense to everybody, but if you've been in like these types of abuse situations, you'll know what I mean. It's like, okay, so for example, you're like, I don't know, 10 years old or something, and you like to go outside and play in the woods. Because you're not scared of thorns and, I don't know, getting stung by a bee possibly, you're detached from reality. Because you don't see the quote-unquote dangers of the world, as if that's even what that really means, and that's not seeing the dangers of the world, but that's how these types of abusers and psychiatric people see it. When your abusers are I don't know, they're lying and saying that, like, I don't know, you sneak out the house to go, I don't know, have relationships with 90-year-old men at, maybe like 12 or something. No, actually, no. That would be, no, hold on, I'm getting this mixed up. I'm getting it mixed up. That would be an example more so for the detached from reality thing. Hold up, no. Okay, so like, just a simple example. You're abusive, I don't know, step uncle or whatever in the world beats you up all the time. You say he beats you up. Because you say he beats you up, even though you have the bruises to prove it, you're just paranoid and have trust issues. That's a better example of how this goes, because I was about to, like, make this more complicated than it really had to be. And the thing that I keep saying, though, is that it's not about me not trusting people, which I don't even like that bullcrap term anyways when it comes to random people you don't even know, like, what in the world, but it's just the fact that I have discernment and I can tell that these people aren't safe people. And it's like, I'm not even saying that they're bad people, and that's something else that they'll try to do, just like this lady tried to do. She'll be like, you're gonna see that I'm a good person, I'm a real woman of God, and I really help people. It's not that I don't believe you help people. It's not that I don't believe you want to help me. It's not that I think you're not a safe person. It's not even that I don't think she's gonna, like, I don't think she's gonna beat me up or any of that stuff. It's just obvious that she's not safe due to other reasons. It's other things that make her not safe. It's not about her or any of the other quote-unquote let me help you lunatics being bad people. They're just not safe people because they have a lot of stuff about them and a lot of stuff going on that they don't see anything wrong with, either due to the whole toxic 40-plus-year-old stuff or the quote-unquote crazy religious person stuff, which I still don't really like that term, but I do feel like they do definitely have, like, some stuff about them that could make them fall into this category, at least in my eyes. But like I already said, like, what people consider a quote-unquote crazy religious person could be so many different things. But, in fact, no, another thing that I wanted to say, it reminds me of Patrick Teahan's post, half safe people are not safe people. But I feel like the unfortunate thing is that a lot of people, especially people who are really willing to help people or who try to force you into quote-unquote help that they really can't give, and they like chase you around trying to force you into help, those are half-safe people. And like I already said, some of them, especially the more so sexual predator ones, are more than, I don't know why I keep saying more than, less than half-safe. I keep getting it mixed up because I'm trying to say this so quickly to hurry up and get out the storage unit. This even goes into something that I tell people sometimes that are like in support groups for abused people who are trying to escape, that are like, I have a place to go with someone I met. And it's like, well, who is this someone you met? You shouldn't run off with somebody. And they're like, well, they're not a pedophile. It doesn't even matter that they're not like a chomo or that they're not a sexual predator. That's not even really the point. It's like there's so many other types of unsafe people that nobody talks about that I feel like are honestly worse than a lot of the sexual predators. And it's like there's honestly more deranged women that are trying to like drag people into their houses than even really men. And I learned that years ago from this. I didn't even think I ever really made a video about the full story of this lady I met at a park one day in Birmingham, Alabama. And she was like, I came to this park to meet my husband. I met him on some app, and he told me he was going to meet me here. And I don't really remember much else about that, but I do remember she was like, I only have sons, and all my sons are grown out of my house now, and I've always wanted a daughter, and you could come be my daughter and live in my house. I had enough discernment to know that this lady was very, very deranged. I don't like mental labels, but she can definitely fall under some category of schizo, like a schizonarc, as I like to call it. Because, of course, people have this one idea of, like, what quote-unquote schizophrenia is. Of course, schizophrenia is a common label that abusers throw into their victims that don't even actually have schizophrenia, but when somebody actually could meet the criteria for it, a lot of times they're also, or more so, quote-unquote narcs, which is why I made the term schizonarc. Also because all mental labels are different forms of double-mindedness, and schizophrenia means split minds. But anywho. Yeah, so, like, she was a schizonarc, definitely. But she was on the more dangerous side. Like, the more the more delusional side than even the average quote-unquote narc is. Like, in fact, no. She reminds me of this dude I met who had a mom that he unfortunately fell into cognitive dissonance with and never left, and started quote-unquote taking care of her, even though she turned his siblings that he used to save their lives against him. But his mom had the schizophrenia label. She was on, like, the further end of the spectrum. She would split and get paranoid and start hating her kids, like a lot of southern people and quote-unquote black people do, where they'll be like, my kids are bad and I can't take them anywhere, even though their kids aren't doing anything but blinking. They're just delusional. But she would literally split, and she would pour gasoline, and I think sometimes bleach all over the floor. And she mopped the floor with gasoline and threatened to set the house on fire. And he would like have to send his siblings out the window, and he would give them money and tell them to just go out and go shopping and go buy some food while he tried to calm his mom down. And unfortunately, he developed parent worship cognitive dissonance, where he'd be like, well, I can't blame my mom for everything, and she's still my mom, and I still live with her. And she was completely ruining his life. It was a very unfortunate situation. I think I don't know what she did to him, but eventually he disappeared. But yeah, that's what this lady reminded me of. It's like, she seemed like she'd be that type. Like, one minute she would want a daughter and she liked me, but then the next minute she'd be like, well, I'm going to start mopping the floor with gasoline now. And yeah, so that's what, I don't even remember what I was saying and why I brought that up, but oh yeah, these are the types of deranged women that want kids, or the deranged women that are willing to help people. And this lady has like a track record of all the people that she's helped. She even sent me pictures, because unfortunately, this is why I don't give people my number, but I only give people a Wi-Fi number at least, so that was that. But I gave the elderly lady who moved in with her my number, because she was going to move back to the land supposedly, and pretty much it sounded like she was going to go lay on her uncle's grave and just lay there and die. And so I was like kind of worried, but I kind of really knew I shouldn't have. And what was I saying? Oh yeah, so she gave this lady my number when she moved in with her. She also, I'm pretty sure she told her a lot of stuff about me, like how old she thinks I am and different things like that. And like I said in another video, I had to tell this lady before when some sexual predators that were trying to reel her in, because for a second this dude thought that she was my mom or grandma and that I was staying with her, that we both were in a bad predicament. He was thinking, if I can reel this lady in and get her to move in with me and my sexual predator friend, who according to somebody else threatened two other women and had them move in with him and put a gun to one of their heads and manipulate and abuse one so bad to where she eventually died. But anyways, yeah, so he wanted to reel her into that, because in his mind, if he could get her in there, his older friend could essay her and he could essay me. That was his plan, and I could tell that even from the first time I seen him, which actually, I didn't even remember this was the same person, but I met him before on some crazy sexual predator bullcrap. And he was even at least admitting that he really just wanted to get with me. He admitted that in front of everybody. So there was that. And she was telling him all of her business and telling him what she thinks she knows about me but really doesn't know. But she eventually admitted that really she doesn't know me. But she was like, yeah, I'll move in with him and I'll pay $300 a month to rent a room from him. And it's like, you just told the people that you don't want them to help you get a place, and then you just told me and them you don't want to pay rent anymore. You just want to go back to your land and try to secretly live in some church down the road that may not even still exist. And you were going to break into there with a knife and unlock the door hatchet, latch, whatever it's called thing. And it's like, yeah, so you just said all of that, but now you're about to move in with somebody all over again. And she admitted that she knows she's about to get herself back in the same rental abuse situations that she had just escaped, which is why she came here. And apparently she had been in a couple of like abusive rental situations with room and board, pretty much like elderly group home type stuff, but it's so much essay going on. And this is why this other guy we know, and then this other lady, even before this other lady has said it, it does seem like she's just trying to like manipulate people into taking care of her, at least to them. Although I do feel like, even if that is what she's trying to do, she's getting manipulated more than she's manipulating anybody. this goes back into what this other dude was saying. She just doesn't want to take care of herself. And this is the thing that I keep saying. People can try to make me feel like, oh, I just don't want help. I just know that I have to help myself. I just know that if I run up in somebody's house, especially these types of people, it's going to be some crazy mess. If I want help, I'm going to have to help myself. I'm not going to be able to just say, well, I'm a kid, and because I'm a kid, I should just run up into some older person's house, because that's all I can do. Honestly, if I had to be out here till I'm way into my 20s or something, I mean, that is what it is, but I'm just not going to accept some crazy bullcrap to say I have somewhere to go and to say I have somebody and to say I have help. Because, I mean, people will commonly mention to me, like, I mean, you're not old enough to do the job that you want to do, and you're not old enough for this, and you're not old enough for that. I mean, I already know all that anyways, but it's like, oh, well, I just can't throw myself into some crazy situation. One of the things about it is that I just can't take getting triggered by these types of people that do these types of things that these types of people do. All their insults, all the different bullcrap they do. Like this lady, her grandson lives with her. A good sign that there's some bullcrap going on with his parents. And he came home mad, and he didn't say good afternoon to the elderly lady that moved in with her. So she started cursing him out. And I mean, I'm not even gonna lie, that is pretty rude to do, but like, it's very obvious that something happened at school and that he was upset about something. Honestly, he came home looking like he was about to cry, to be truthfully honest. He obviously was very upset, and he admitted that to her, I think, over text this morning after he, had got on the bus. But he just didn't really want to talk about it, because I guess he probably really knows that he doesn't really have anyone to really confide in about the stuff he has going on, which is a big part of why he was in his room with the door closed, listening to NBA Youngboy. But it's not funny, though. It's really unfortunate, but, the NBA Youngboy thing was kind of, a little bit funny. But, she was telling him that he should, play the game with me, but it's I mean, how do you know that he wants some random girl, or really any random people, running up in his room, taking over his private space? The little bit of privacy he does have. And I know that she's the type, and a lot of people are the type where they'll be like, well, there is no privacy in this house. In fact, no. She literally wanted me to open his door. Well, use my fingernail to unlock his door and run up in his room to ask him something. It's I'm not about to run up in his room when, for all I know, he could be changed or anything. In fact, she did this to me when I was in the bathroom, because I was getting ready. I was using the bathroom, getting ready to leave. But luckily, I was only brushing my teeth at that point in time. I was getting ready to leave because I didn't have plans on staying. I did riskily go when I really shouldn't have, because I did want to at least see that the elderly lady who I was at one point helping out here and showing her the way around, even though I barely know my way around. I wanted to make sure the situation was decent enough for her, and that it wasn't going to be too bad. But as I already said, it's definitely safer for her than for me, because I'm a child, at least according to certain people. But this is something I mentioned too pretty often, that it's especially with being a street kid, and even when I was in my abuse situation, it's to certain people, even though I'm really not grown, but to certain people, I'm out here and I don't have anybody, so I need to figure things out on my own, and I need to figure out how to get my stuff together. But then the other people, I'm a child, but it's really it's all kind of equal, the whole figure out how to be grown and figure things out on your own thing, and the whole you're a child thing, because both of those are really just used to talk down on me and make me feel like stuff is my fault and to blame me for stuff. It's used to make me feel like I'm being grown and I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, because I'm supposed to be living with somebody and I'm supposed to be somewhere, but I'm not where I'm supposed to be, and I'm not with who I'm supposed to be with, and I need to find my mom. People always have this mom accusation, because so many people have single moms to where they don't even think about somebody possibly having a dad or something. It's I mean, but, and also one of the funniest things about it is that even if my relative situation wasn't extremely unsafe, neither of my parents have their own place to stay. My mom lives with my sister again, because as I said in some other video, apparently she moved back, because when I had left, everybody had moved and went their separate ways, apparently. But from what I was told, at one point in time, she's moved back in with my sister. My dad, he's never had his own place to stay. That's actually why, once I became full-blown homeless, I actually, learned the different definitions of homelessness, and I found out I had actually been homeless my whole life, living with different girlfriends, getting kicked out, being thrown back and forth to different people and different relatives, or well, more so, my mom and my dad, and then live with my dad's different girlfriends, and then sometimes my grandma or my dad and my grandma, but she would kick me out at I think the first time I got kicked out was infancy. That's how it is for a lot of people, but they don't even count that as being told by one parent that you got to go live with another parent in infancy, but then getting kicked out with my dad at 8. Although my stepmom did say that I could stay with her, but at that point in time I was still pretty brainwashed, so I wanted to go with my dad even though he really had nowhere to go. So I lived in his car for a couple of days outside of my stepmom's house where he did a lot of toxic stuff. In fact, that's how I got that video from when I was 8 that was on the Part 1 channel that I actually still have that, I think. I think it's re-uploaded to the Part 5. I still have it somewhere, I'm pretty sure. Where, my dad broke into my stepmom's house when I was 8. I still have that video. I don't even know why I recorded that. But that's how I got that, behind that whole situation. Then another video from when I was 8, from when he was talking about how, he broke his thumb shooting a gun in her neighborhood, somewhere in the woods because he was mad at her, and apparently, it was just so weird, though, because it's she didn't know it was him anyways, and it's that's how he got the 50B restraining order, too, and I started making those jokes about 50B restraining orders, especially because, unfortunately, especially at elementary age, I dealt with, limerence and, stuff like that, too, so I had definitely not, well, honestly, I don't know, I feel at some points in time I was probably worse than my dad was when it came to, limerence, but that's why I started making the jokes about the 50B restraining order. But yeah, anywho, I found out that I had pretty much been homeless my whole life, so it's people throw up all these different things about how I need to go back somewhere and stop being quote-unquote grown, but it's even if they weren't really unsafe for thousands of different reasons, I wouldn't have anywhere to go back to anyways. So it's kind of people just, so many people are under the same type of mind control, and they just have this idea that, you're a quote-unquote child, and when you're a quote-unquote child, well, actually, no, not even that. The blood is thicker than water, pretty much. And this is something I've talked about before, too. This is why there's more homeless white people than quote-unquote black people. I have that, timestamp from that one video that talks about kid quote-unquote prostitutes or boy prostitutes, and how, there's more white boys out there, and he was I feel it's because black people treat their kids better. I don't feel it's because of that at all. I feel it's all equal. But as I always talk about, melanated people are more open and happy-go-lucky about child abuse, but I feel it's because, for whatever reason, white people are more willing to really leave their abusive family system. That's also why more white kids unalive their parents. They're more willing to really do something about their abuse. They're more willing to leave, and if they get kicked out, they're more willing to not go back. And people always have this blood thicker than water thing, but I don't know. For whatever reason, white people are more willing to leave. This is why there's more homeless white kids and more homeless white adults than anybody else. I don't think it's because of any of the other reasons that people try to make it about. I really don't. I feel it's just because of that. And this is the thing, it's as I always say, black people, which I don't really like the term black or white, but quote-unquote black people are just, they're so just brainwashed into this delusion that, you gotta stay around people and never have a life and never do anything, never accomplish anything, just stay living with your mom, getting punched in the face because you wanted to get some sink water because you were thirsty till you're 75 and never have a job, never work a job, because you're not allowed to work a job because you're going through infantilization and financial abuse. So you can't escape. And then you died being tortured by your mom and her different boyfriends or your dad or your uncle, whoever in the world. That's really what it is. Although I can say, though, I have seen more crazy abuse in white communities, but I still don't feel there's only more homeless white kids and white adults simply because melanated people treat their kids better. I really don't think that's true. And also the abuse lessens, or it can stop or seemingly stop at a certain age, as I mentioned before, just like with SA. the abuser and even like the demons in the abuser know that it's gonna become a repressed memory and you won't remember it. So if they stop at a certain age, or if they start and stop at a certain age, then you'll be like, well, it got better, you just don't remember it, and you're like, well, it never happened, and I don't remember anything, and so I'm just gonna stay here and keep living with my abusers and all that. But I just can't do it. Oh yeah, I forgot something. There's a sentence I started however many minutes ago but didn't finish because I started thinking about something else, as usual. I was also saying that, like, I don't even really like to say that I get mad easily, but like, I do get mad, and it's like I can't really take all this manipulation, even though the people, they don't see that they're manipulative. They don't see anything wrong with any of the stuff that they do or say, but it's like, after a while, I want to punch them in the face. I'm not going to lie. Or at least want to say something. I don't curse or anything, so it's not going to be like anything crazy, but it's like, you can't even really have a... Well, the lady claimed I was like arguing with her because I don't want help. I don't even argue with people. It kind of reminds me of this Instagram post I used to see back during my Instagram quote era, where somebody was like, people that take you telling them how you feel about certain things as an argument aren't worth it, or something like that. It was something like that. I can't even really remember, but it's like you can't even really talk to these people about anything because they're so brainwashed and delusional and set in their ways, and they're so ignorant and stupid. You can't have a conversation with them about anything. And then it's like, if you're a quote-unquote child, they'll use that against you too, but it's like they're really just not smart people. And it's like, people can try to act like I'm just arrogant. I really just can't be around stupid people. I don't like being around people that you can't talk to about anything. You can't have a conversation with them about anything because they're living in the false self. They're not even all the way there. Like, I mean, they're not even all the way there to the point where you can't even, like, I don't know, talk about the weather with them because, even though it's, like, really minute, because they're just somewhere else deep inside the fractured mind or something like that. And I know people like see me as like insane or whatever as well, but it's like, I mean, shoot, I'd rather be insane by myself than have to deal with other people's insanity too. I just can't do it. It's like, after a while, I'm just ready to punch them in the face because it's like, what in the world? I just can't deal with all of it. So many people are so used to dealing with mess, I just can't deal with all the mess. I really can't. And it's like, shoot, I'd rather move in with like this one other risky dude. He's half safe as well. He's not like dangerous, but he also has an I'm grown complex, but also he definitely wants to get with me, but it's like, I wouldn't do it obviously, but I'm just saying, like, he would be a better person to move in with than this lady who's like pretty ignorant. Because it's like, I mean, me and him have a lot of things in common, and I can at least have a conversation with him about things to a certain extent before the I'm grown stuff comes out. But of course I wouldn't. Because as I always say, I don't do the whole living with people stuff. And people can talk about how, like, I'm not old enough to get a place and all that, but, like, I'd rather be camping somewhere than be going through the calamities. I guess that's what I could call it, going through the calamities.